We'll start with industry data, definitions, and classification. So your Excel has a couple of tabs. The first tab and the second tab are around the different industries. One tab is the 2-digit NAICS. The other tab is the 3-digit NAICS. And we'll talk a little bit more about those distinctions in the coming slide. But the NAICS is a description of the primary economic activity of that establishment at that location. It is also ordered. So the NAICS starts at digits like 1-1 for agriculture and forestry and fishing and hunting, 2-1 for mining, 2-2 for utilities, 2-3 for construction, and so forth. And it's an ordered description. So it's kind of neat in the fact that goods producing NAICS are close together. So mining, construction, manufacturing are goods producing. Service producing are also grouped together after that. And then you have government at the very end. So that order is actually helpful in understanding sometimes how to look at the data by knowing that order. There is a category for payroll business locations. So payroll business locations are companies that employ people and have a payroll, and they'll report those numbers to the Department of Labor. It covers about 95% of non-agricultural workers that are wage and salary, and about 75% of agricultural wage and salary workers. It does not include the self-employed and the self-employed with no workers, importantly. For jobs, we have 2015 and we have 2020 jobs. Jobs are full-time and part-time jobs, so it's the whole group of that. A person can also have multiple jobs. So you can have a job at a fast food place in the evening, for example, and also work your day job at a manufacturing plant. So it's not an actual count of people, it's a count of jobs. And so those are the jobs that are there. There's percent change, there's number of change, and then there's earnings per job. So earnings isn't the same as wages. Earnings is wages plus benefits, plus income to proprietors, and all of that total amount of earnings is divided by jobs to get that earning per jobs. So if you're looking, for example, for a specific job title, there's different sources that you can use for wage rates for different jobs. Industry classification is the next topic I want to cover. Really, why do we classify companies the way we do? So the North American Industry Classification System is called NAICS, and that's what we use to identify the primary economic activity of an establishment at that location. So that's an important concept to think about. It's really the primary economic activity. So for example, over to the right, you see, what is O'Reilly's? Well, we know O'Reilly Auto Parts is a retailer of auto parts across the Midwest and many parts of the country. So it's going to be classified in many places, including Springfield, as an auto parts retailer. But it's also a headquarters company, and it's going to be classified as a headquarters company in Springfield as well. So you're going to find management of companies as a sector, and it's likely that O'Reilly is going to be in there. It's also a distribution center. In Kansas City, they have a distribution center, so it'll be classified there as a distribution center along with those other parts retailers. And then finally, what it isn't, though, is it isn't a classification of what O'Reilly sells to. So we don't know if O'Reilly sells products to NASCAR or if they supply, a different company here and there. We don't know what companies do in terms of their markets. We just know their primary economic activity. And that's an important thing to understand. So when you're looking at your data, you may know a company in your area and you go, this is the company and this is what it does, or this is how they sell products. But realize that they may be classified in different NAICS, and they may be in multiple NAICS. A lot of very large companies break out their units by the different activities they do for reasons of insurance, for reasons of tax credits, and so forth. So you'll really see this with large companies. Now, when we're looking at the NAICS is ordered from 2 digits down to 6 digits. So 2 digits is the highest level. So think of manufacturing as a 2-digit sector of 3-1, 3-2, and 3-3. If you want more detail, the second tab shows 3-digit NAICS. So you can look at manufacturing, you can break that down and go, okay, I see that food manufacturing is 3-1-1, beverage and tobacco 3-1-2, and so forth. So that number has an order, and that order is important. And the numbers will roll up. So all of your 3 ones, when you total that in your 3-digit NAICS, will sum up to your 2-digit NAICS numbers. Now, when you look at the jobs, you'll see that there's jobs there. Then there's some places where you'll see less than 10 or insufficient data. That happens when there's really just not a lot of information for EMSI to estimate what those numbers are, usually for very small industries. So for example, in this slide, you see that there's insufficient data for textile mills. There's only 2 payroll business locations, really small, less than 10, and there's insufficient data. Now this is important because even though you can get down to very detailed NAICS, usually we're staying at a 2, 3, or 4-digit level to analyze information. And that's for a couple of reasons. One is there is limited data on some industries as you get down lower. Also, as you get to really highly detailed classifications of companies, you're just looking at that primary activity, but a lot of companies have multiple activities. Take a 3M manufacturing plant. The one in mid-Missouri region produces at least 3 different products, and sometimes they're going to different types of industries and different types of things that they're making. So when you get really detailed, you sometimes erroneously think, I've got this company really defined, but maybe you don't. Maybe it really does a lot of different things. And so we kind of use the higher level of analysis to understand that some companies are more complex than just one category. Now, this resource, there's a NAICS resource, a little button there. It basically goes to a Bureau of Labor Statistics site where you can look at the NAICS in detail. Importantly, it tells you what a company is when it's described by that NAICS, but also what it isn't. And so that's a helpful resource. And I use it sometimes when I'm trying to help describe a company.